everyone. This is Pam Padley with Focus IT, and this is our second call for point how-tos that will help you utilizing the point system. This is our second call, and we're going to be starting here in just a few minutes. We want to give everyone a chance to get connected, so we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and joining us. We'll be starting here shortly. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. This is Pam Padley here at Focus IT, and I'm really excited to have you join me on my call today. This is call number 2 in our 3-part series. Today we're going to be covering how to find field ID numbers, how to set up custom screens, and we're going to take a quick look at print groups. So we're going to be starting our call here in just a few minutes. We want to give everyone a chance to get connected. So I appreciate your patience, and we'll be starting here in just a few minutes. Thank you. Hi, everyone. For everyone who has just joined the call in the last couple minutes, my name is Pam Pasley, and I work here at Focus IT, and I have the privilege of hosting this call for you today. Before we get started, I would like to reach out and thank everyone 2 weeks ago that joined my call for the first part of the three-part calls for Point and jumped in and shared their knowledge about Point and the topics that we were covering during that call and sharing their helpful tips and tricks to everyone who was on the call. It was absolutely wonderful. I appreciated everyone's support, and I appreciated all those ideas that everyone was willing to share. So please, during the call today, if you have other tips or tricks that you know about that you would like to share with the group, please don't hesitate to post those in the question box and allow me to share those with the group. That's what this is all about, just being there to help each other with the Point application. So last week, we talked about the toolbar and the different functionalities of the buttons, and we talked about customizing the short bar on the right-hand side of the screen. I'm sorry, left-hand side of the screen. So today, what we're going to talk about is how to find field ID numbers, custom screens, and print groups. So let's go ahead and get started, and hopefully everyone else will have a chance to join in. I do record these sessions, and I do post them to our YouTube site, and I will be sending an email to everyone who registered for the call, the hyperlink to be able to go back and play the recordings from the prior week, as well as the recording for today. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's see what kind of fun we can have. Okay, everyone? So basically, what I've discovered with working with a lot of my Point clients, with the ones that we're hosting their Point Central server for them, I've discovered that a lot of them didn't know how easy it is to look up Point field ID numbers. If you know how to look up a Point field ID number, that puts you in the control seat, especially creating reports, creating custom forms, and things like that inside the application. There's a couple different ways that you can look up field ID numbers. A lot of people know that you can go to utilities, and you can go to enable field. Nope, that's the wrong one. I thought there used to be another one here. Maybe they took it away. Okay, so we're just going to talk about one right now, which is the one I use all the time, which is probably why I didn't notice the other one wasn't there anymore. Anyways, the one that I like to use that I think is quite helpful is I like to go to utilities, load field ID numbers, and go to borrower. What I love about this is it actually opens up a blank loan, and inside that blank loan, it's going to provide me every field ID number. So it's not going to matter what screen that I go to, whether it's any of the screens that I can pick from my shortcut toolbar on the left-hand side, or whether I go to the top of the screen and I choose from a form here. It's still going to open that form, and it's still going to show me all of the field ID numbers assigned to those fields. But even better yet, I can go to tracking and status, and I can see all the field ID numbers used for the track status screen, as well as I can go to tracking and agent, and I can see all the field ID numbers used for that screen. The reason why it's so important to be able to look up those field ID numbers is within Point, you're going to utilize those when it comes to creating reports as well as templates, and we'll take a quick look at that. But also to be able to look up field ID numbers, what makes it nice for my Pulse clients is once they know what those field ID numbers are, it allows them to go in and create these wonderful custom pipeline views inside Pulse. So this way they can go in and they can create different views, and they can see whatever data that they want to see. We bring approximately 5,000 fields over, so we have almost every field available. So all they have to do is look up the field ID number, plug that into their custom view, and now they have a pipeline view that's going to show them all the data that they need to see in the order they want to see it in. So that's an advantage, and that's why it's been very important for me to make sure that all of my customers know how to look these up. Also, in case you don't know, you do have the ability within Point to open Point twice. What you can do is once you have Point open once, you can go and click on your house icon, and it will open up Point for a second time. So what I normally do if I'm doing some coding inside the Point application is I will have 2 copies of Point open. I will have 1 copy open displaying my field ID numbers, and I will have a second copy open, and I'll either be working on my custom forms or I'll be working on my reports. So I will just simply shove the other one off to another screen so that I can see those ID numbers and I'm not going back and forth and I don't have to write them down. Because for everyone who's familiar with Point, everyone should be familiar with the templates. And inside templates, you have the ability to come up and create custom reports. Inside custom reports, I found that it's so much easier when you're creating a custom report, whether you're modifying an existing one or you're creating a new one. When it comes to the field names here, it's always so much better to simply give the field a name. And in this case, I can just do first name. And then what it does is it allows me to come right over here and type in the field ID number. Otherwise, you can click the down arrow and you can go searching for the field that you want, and it will pull it up and it will insert it for you here. But what I found was working with the Point system, the field name that you see on the within the 1003 or any of the pages don't always match the field name that they've given it behind the scenes in their database. So sometimes it's presented a little bit of a challenge of actually finding by field name the field that I'm looking for. So to make sure that my reports are providing me with the correct field and I'm getting the right data, I will simply give the field name my own name, and I will simply plug in that field ID number that I took time to look up, which works wonderful, and it allows me to create these really great reports inside Point and to be able to utilize them. The other thing that I found is when it comes to custom forms, letters, and emails, when you go into create a custom form, and I'm not going to create a new one, just let me open this test one here. For anyone that hasn't gone in here for a while, when you go to create a custom form, it's going to open up a blank Word document. And inside that Word document, you can come in and you can set it up any way you want. You can add pictures, do formatting, whatever you want to do. And then, of course, you're going to want to do some data placement within that. So you can come over here to where it says select a point field. And again, you can scroll down and see if you can find the one that you're looking for. But you'll notice here very quickly that it's very limited on the numbers that are there. My favorite thing was to go down to the option where it says other point fields not listed above. And once you click on insert, what it does is it allows you to enter that field ID number. So I would simply go to that, enter the field ID number, and insert the field that I wanted. And I would simply stay on this option and keep opening it and typing in my different field ID numbers to insert them in my custom form. And I didn't have to keep going up and down on this list trying to find the fields that I was looking for. It just made it so much easier to be able to create that form so much faster. So we're going to go ahead and close that out. And the custom forms are very important. I don't know, I'm going to kind of date myself here, everyone, because it's been a while. But basically, when I used to work as a processor, and I headed up their IT department for a small mortgage company, we did a lot of business with lenders back then that had a lot of junk forms and things like that that needed to be included or provided to them. And what was nice is I could go in and I could add those forms into the custom form list, have the information auto-populate, and then I could either print it or send it to document storage and have that available to be transmitted to the lender. And I wasn't filling out any forms. My handwriting is atrocious after working on a computer for so long. And of course, I'm not going to get deep into custom forms at this time, but one of my favorite options within this, never forget, was the option to actually import documents from outside. So if you can get those lenders to send you documents in a Word format, that's awesome. You can import them right in here and set them up, and they're all ready. So let's go back to loans. Again, to look up field ID numbers, it's very simple. You're going to go to Utilities, Load Field ID Numbers, and simply select Borrower, and it's going to open it up and provide you with all those wonderful field ID numbers. Now, it's, again, looking them up is very easy. What I normally do is I open up Point, and someone said, how do you get the second screen open? Well, it's really very simple. You're going to open up Point. Once you have Point open, you're simply going to click on Point again, and it will launch it a second time. So now you can see that I have 2 copies of it open. Now, you want to be very careful doing this, okay? I will do this so that I can go to Utilities, load field ID numbers borrower, and have this open on one of my screens while I'm working on my forms or my reports in the other screen. You don't want to have 2 of these open working in different loans and crossing over your data and screwing up your local profile. I don't recommend you have 2 or 3 copies of Point open working in different loans. That can definitely create some problems. The application wasn't designed for it. But doing it this way, where you're simply displaying field ID numbers or simply looking up information, it does work quite well, and it does a very nice job. So we'll go ahead and minimize this for now. And let's go ahead and let's talk about our next topic. The next topic I wanted to talk about is custom screens. Now, again, I've used Point and other LOS systems for quite a while. And Point, I love the idea that we had the ability through the track status screen to be able to come in and do some customization. And I believe we're talking about that in our call next week when it comes into doing templates. But you have the ability to come in and assign these blank fields within the track status screen and have them represent certain things. But I get a lot of requests from my Pulse customers that say, okay, Pam, I'm already using these. I want to be able to trigger certain emails for certain marketing campaigns, and I know that you need a field within Pulse Marketing to be able to trigger off of. So within our Pulse Marketing system, we can set up different lists, and those lists can be specific to look for certain fields that are checked off within the Point system and add those files to that list to be included in certain campaigns. So I said, well, let's go one step farther. Since you're already utilizing this screen, and this one is basically statuses, not necessarily do you want to put things in here like, you know, pre-qual or hot lead or cold lead or anything like that. Because if you do it, you're going to add it down here, and it's going to fall in below where your prospect and application date is. So what I started showing my customers how to do was under under Utilities, there's this wonderful option that says Custom Screen Setup. And if you never had a chance to go there, it's great, and trust me, it's really easy to utilize, not difficult at all. You come in here and you click on Custom Screen Settings, and what it's going to do is it's going to open up this very simple box. Excuse me. Now, in this box, what it does is it allows you to create 4 custom screens. And under each one of those custom screens, it allows you to add up to 25 fields. Okay, so how does it work? Well, it's very simple. I'm going to choose Custom Screen 1, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a screen name. So for this one, we created Caesar's Custom Screen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on my field IDs. My first one I called Field 1, and I made it a text field. So the only data that will be allowed to be entered there would be text, not numeric. My second field, I'm going to call this Hot Leads. And in that particular field, I formatted it for a date field. So when that box gets checked, it's going to insert today's date. So if I was a loan officer and I was creating a custom screen for my leads, what would I do? Well, what I do is I'd come up here and I would simply say leads. I would say the first one, I could create this one, and I could simply mark it hot leads, okay? And I could come down, and I could set this up to simply be a date. So that way, I could go into this custom screen and check this box off if I consider this to be a hot lead, okay? What if I consider this to be a cold lead? That would be another one I'd want to think about. What if I wanted to be able to track my pre-quals? I could come in and I could simply add, this is a pre-qual, and set it for a date and have it enter that information also. I could keep going down and I could add all the different options. We have a mobile, social security number. You can even actually create a drop-down list in one of the custom fields on a custom screen. You can actually come in and you can say that this is a task. The field name could be task. It could be, lead type, whatever you want it to be, versus creating a field for each one of them. You can tell it you want it to be a drop-down list, and then you can actually come in and plug what you would like to see in that drop-down list. Let me show you what this would look like if we were actually going to set it up for this loan. I'm going to come up here to Forms. I'm going to come all the way down here to Field ID numbers, and you'll see that there's Caesar's Custom Screens and Lead Types. If I come here and open this up, you'll see that I have a selection of wonderful fields that I can enter data from. I have field number 1. I have hot leads, amount, mobile, social security, task. Boy, I can't talk today. And over here, you'll notice that this was the one that we chose to put a drop down in. So if I come over here and click the down arrow, I can actually see the drop down that I can select from. So this makes it really nice. Most loan officers like to do something that's similar to this screen. They'll call it lead type. They'll set it up and they'll create a field for pre-quals, rate quotes, hot leads, cold leads. And by identifying them in Point, what it does is it allows these Point fields to interface and to sync over to our Pulse application. And through Pulse, we can design different marketing campaigns that can be triggered and be sent out on these different types of leads, so that you're in constant contact with them, and hopefully they're going to turn around and come back to you. You always want to make sure you do something in Point to be able to track the ones that you've pre-qualified, because I don't know about you, but a lot of my users have come back and said that they pre-qualified a client, they got very busy, it fell through the cracks. When they finally found their dream home 3 or 4 months later, the realtor selling that home managed to talk them into using a different lender because I hadn't followed up with them. You don't want to have something like that happen to you. You want to be able to stay on top of that. So you want to be able to go in and create these fields, whether you tie these fields to a report that you run on a regular basis out of Point, or you interface these fields to a CRM like our Pulse application and be able to allow automated emails to be sent out. Whatever works for you, you're going to want to consider that, and you're going to want to take advantage of that being able to create those custom screens. It really does provide my customers with a wonderful extra tool above and beyond, because I don't know about the rest of you, but a lot of times my customers will come back and go, if I could only rearrange the status orders, or if I could only change the name of the field, if I could only do this or that. So by being able to create those custom screens, it gives you a little flexibility, even though there are certain limitations, and unfortunately, when things are hard-coded in Point, you can't change them. Okay, so consider custom screens and consider using them. Excuse me. I'm sorry. The other thing that I wanted to talk about on today's call was print groups. Now, I know that probably a lot of my customers, a lot of the users that are on the call today are using Point Central with a centralized database. I have some that are probably Pulse conventional clients still, and yes, there are a lot of Pulse conventional clients still out there. And one of the misgivings for the Pulse conventional clients when it comes to creating print groups is a lot of users within a company will create a print group, and they will want to share that group share that print group with other people if they're all pointing to templates maybe on a local server. Or what will happen is when we upgrade a Pulse conventional customer to a Point Central customer, and we bring their data over and we copy over their templates, they go to log in and discover their print groups are missing. The reason for that is under Point Conventional, when you create a print group, a lot of people don't realize that there is a very special little box right here that says share this print group. You want to be able to check this, and you want to be able to share that print group. So that way, when you convert to Point Central or you have other people accessing your templates, they're going to be able to see those wonderful print groups that you've created, as well as you being able to see them yourself. One of the things that I found with the print groups was people not realizing that they do have the ability to share them. Also not realizing that when you build a print group, you have the ability to choose any of the forms from any of the screens that are listed under the different tabs. All you simply have to do is go in and select the tab. The one that I like the most was the custom forms like we talked about earlier. I like the idea that I could go in and I could add a lender's custom form, have the information autofill, and be able to select that form as being part of my print group. So I'm going to go ahead and for the sake of this, I'm just going to call this test demo. I'm going to tell it I want it to share, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I'm going to go ahead and add that. I need to click that. And I'm going to go ahead and close out. I'm going to go back to print. I'm going to go to print groups, and here's my test demo. So it's really that easy to be able to go in and create the different print groups and be able to add the different forms. You just need to take a few minutes of your time, build those forms, and have them available. Now, the biggest question that I get asked is customers that move from Point Conventional over to Point Central, and a lot of my customers on Point Central, one of the challenges that they run into when they create print groups is they create print groups and they have to create them for the prospects as well as they create them for the borrower side. So what a lot of my customers will do is they'll go, Pam, I've created some really great print groups. They're appearing on the prospect side of a data folder. I need to move them over to the borrower side of a data folder so that I have access to them and I don't have to recreate them. I do have a little trick that allows me to be able to copy those over. So if you're ever in that situation, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to help you with that. Another nice thing about creating those custom forms for those lenders and stuff, when they're added to a particular print group, you have the option down here to select many different ways to receive those documents listed in that print group. You have the ability to come down here and, of course, print. You have the ability to come down and you have the ability to do a print preview if you want to view them on the screen. You can email them as a PDF. You can save them locally as a PDF. But most of all, I was told, and didn't know that they had added this, that you actually have the ability to select store. And when you do and you select store, what it does is it allows you to add those documents. And I haven't tried it yet, so let's hope this is going to work. I was told that it allows you to add those documents directly to document storage. And voila, there we go. So I didn't have to print them local and then go to document storage and upload them. I can actually print them directly to document storage. It'll open up and it'll allow me to come in and assign them to their categories, their package, whatever I need to do. And I didn't have to do that in multiple steps. I didn't have to print them and then turn around and upload them. The other option is Inkit. I will be very honest with everyone. I've not used the Inkit piece of the Point application, so I'm not very familiar with it. I haven't really heard a lot about it, so I'm not going to comment on it, good or bad. The other option that I like, especially when it comes to some of the forms, is you can actually come in and choose a form. Down here, in case you didn't notice, you have the ability to choose form with data, or you actually have the ability to choose a blank form with company info or a blank form only. So you actually have the ability to come in and delete print any of these in the form of a blank form. So if you needed a blank form to hand out to someone, you don't need to have them on hand and copy them. You can actually generate them straight out of the Point system. And then, of course, one of the things that we always made sure when we created our print groups way back when is we always wanted to make sure that we printed them in order of the paper size, so that it grouped all of the letters together and it grouped all of the legals together, which made it a little bit easier for copying and things like that. But that may not be such a factor today because I know so much is done electronically now. So you do have those different options to choose from depending on what you select. Again, take time to go in and set up those wonderful print groups. They really will help you and they will help speed things up. I can't imagine going into here every time and selecting all the different forms I want. I know a lot of people are very good at creating print groups and including the basic forms that you're used to selecting. But again, think about those custom forms, whether they're internal custom forms, whether they're lender custom forms, or anything like that. Be sure to take the time, go in and create those custom forms so that you can include those in your print groups. Let the data pull from Point, auto-populate those forms, and make things much more simpler for you and not so complicated. Excuse me. You also have the ability when you go in and you select a print group. So let's say that I selected conventional ARM purchase, and I have all the different documents here. A lot of people will end up wasting either paper or needing to modify, if they print to a PDF, certain documents within a doc set that they don't need. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize that they can actually select forms within a pre-selected print group and actually be able to come up here and deselect. Sometimes we just don't see what's in front of us. And a lot of people will go back and say, I can't believe I've been in the screen so many times and never noticed the button up here to be able to deselect certain forms. When you do this, it does not alter your print group. The next person who selects it, those forms will be included in the group. You are not editing your print group. When you select it, it's populating the forms over here. And then, excuse me, it's simply giving you the option to deselect any of them that are not applicable to your particular loan, which is great. If you want to make a permanent change to your group, once you've created a group, you would simply come over here and you would edit that group. What's nice about it, and one of the things that I like, is when you go to edit a print group, it's actually going to show you all of the items that were selected for the print group here on the right-hand side, but also over here on the left-hand side. As you scroll up and down, the ones that have been selected to show up in that group are actually highlighted. So it makes it nice when you're scrolling up and down to be able to see the ones that you're looking for. And then, of course, you can simply, again, come over here and you can select any of these and deselect them, as well as you can come over here and you can add any of them. And then, of course, the most important thing is the order in which these are. My lenders used to have a specific order in which they wanted documents delivered to them. So if you're bringing those documents out of Point, especially if they're ones that you're sending to the borrower and you want them to be in a particular order for the purpose of signing them, if you're using Inkit or anything like that, don't forget that you have the ability to select any of these and simply move them up and down the list, which will change, of course, change the order in which they appear. So there's a lot of different things that you can do in the print group. It's more than just printing to the printer, or it's more than just creating a PDF. Take a little time and go in and invest some time and create those groups, so that way you can simply come in and select them and move on. My favorite thing to do when I created print groups is I would create a standard print group for a conventional, an FHA, and a VA. Then I would create print groups for my different lenders. Back when I did it, and I'm really dating myself here, there were certain junk forms and things like that that each lender required. I'm not sure if that's a requirement today or not, but I would create a print group and I would give the print group the name of each one of the lenders, and I would have the different print groups for each one of the lenders. And then down below, I would have a print group that would include the internal forms that needed to be printed in case they needed to be signed, faxed over, or emailed, sent to the lender, whatever it was. Because what a lot of people don't realize within the print group is you can actually come in and you can select multiple groups at one time. So I'm actually going to close this window for a moment, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to go back to print groups. I'm going to go back to print. I'm going to go into print groups, and let's say that I'm going to choose the 4506T print group. That is my main group. I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to hold down my control key, and I'm going to select construction perm, as well as I'm going to come down here and select test demo. And by doing that, what it simply allowed me to do is combine all three of those print groups into one list of forms that I want, and now I can actually print them or print them to PDF or email them. So I didn't have to do them separately. You can choose multiple print groups and have their forms within those groups all auto-populate over here. And What was nice about this, don't hold me to it, but what was nice about this is if a form already existed in one group, it wasn't duplicating it, I believe. But I haven't tested that out for a while, so I'm not 100% positive that I'm correct on that. And but it does again give you those extra simple steps to be able to do, and that's the reason why I love custom forms, because I believe if you enter data electronically in one source, you should be able to share it out, and you should never have to handwrite or provide that data in other formats. Okay, today was a short one. There wasn't a lot on our topics to go over. Let's just briefly talk about them again, and then I'll look to see if there's any questions anyone has. So again, one of my favorite things to do is once I have Point open, if I'm going to be working on reports or custom forms, once I have Point open once, I will click the house icon, and I will open up a second Point window so that I can take this window and I can go to Utilities, Load Field ID Numbers, and Borrower, so that it will actually display. There's that display field ID. It will actually allow me to come in and open up a blank loan that will provide me with every field ID number. Once I have the field ID number, that gives me the control, and I can now go into Point, and I can create those wonderful reports that I need, and I can create those wonderful custom forms. The other thing that we talked about was that wonderful custom screen. If you have any exceptions within your company where you need to track additional information and those fields aren't available in Point, if you're not using the custom screens, you're totally missing out. You should never be tracking information outside Point, like on Excel spreadsheets and things like that. The accuracy, the percentage of accuracy goes down considerably when you are required to rekey data anywhere. So you want to keep as much in the Point application as you can, and to be able to do that, utilize those wonderful custom screens. They're really fun to set up. Once you have them set up and available, they will be available to all existing files that are already in Point, as well as available to any new ones that are added. So it doesn't just apply to new files created after the custom screens are generated. They're available to existing files also. You have lots of flexibilities on the different types that you can assign to those fields. And again, you have 4 screens, and under each one of those screens, you have the ability to create 25 custom fields. So that's 100. I think 100 should be quite sufficient to be able to allow you to go in and track all that data. And of course, if you've created a custom screen that you no longer use, you have the ability to delete it. Forewarning everyone, if you delete the custom screen, it will delete it out of all records, and any data that was contained under those custom screens will go away. So you do want to be careful when you go in and you start deleting custom screens. And then, of course, the last thing that we talked about was those wonderful print groups. And there's just, it's like using the Cardex that we talked about during our call last time. For anyone who wasn't on the call or wasn't able to join us, I encouraged everyone to think outside the box when it came to the Cardex. I use the Cardex as my central library for our company, and the Cardex ended up being a wonderful tool because not only could we add all of our title companies, lenders, appraisers, realtors, everyone here, it also gave me the ability to utilize this note box down below, especially for the lenders, and to be able to track their information like their junk fees, their mortgagee clauses, and things like that. So it makes it really nice to be able to go in and do that and have that all in one central location and have someone come back and say, well, I didn't get that update. Well, everyone knew to look to the Cardex. Well, that's what I'm asking you to do or to think outside the box when it comes to creating those wonderful print groups and utilizing those custom forms. Think outside the box. I know how busy everyone is, and I know what a challenge it can be to be able to set time aside. But I promise the time that you invest by going in and creating those custom forms and those wonderful print groups, you will get back 10 times fold because you will have eliminated a lot of your a lot of the things that you repeat all the time, you can set those all up in the system so that you don't have to do that. And when it comes to repeating, rekeying data and things like that, we're going to get into talking about all of that when we talk about creating your wonderful template sets on our call next week. So with that, let's take a look and see if I have any questions. Can you show me again how to open that second window? And again, it's really very easy, everyone. You simply, once you have Point fully opened once, then you can go down and you can click on the house icon, whether it is on your desktop. I'm not even sure I have my, whether you click it from your desktop or you have it attached to your bar down below. Oh, excuse me. Once you click on it, it will open up a second copy. But again, remember my warning, be very careful. You do not want to have several copies of Point open, and you do not want to be opening and modifying records in two different ones. In case you don't know, believe it or not, when you're actually working with records and you're modifying them, when you open up a record, there's a transfer of that record's data from your Point Central server to your local profile. Once you make those changes, it's stored to the local profile, and then it's passed back up to the server. And those local profiles, when you start to mess around and start to do things outside the original design of the application, can corrupt those local profiles and start to cause you to lose data or end up with old data versus new. So just be careful, but this is a great way to do it, and it works really well, and I've done it for many, many, many years. The next question is can you add a form to a completed print group? Can you add a form to a completed print group? You mean, can you edit a print group and add another form? If that's the question, yes. If that's not the question, could you give me a little bit more information to go by? And maybe I can understand the question. But if you're wanting to know, you do have the ability to select an existing print group and you can edit it and add additional forms to it, or you can actually select a print group, have the document show over here, and then actually go and add additional documents to that list. So if that's what you are adding, yes, it's very easy to do that. Remember, when you select a print group, it's simply copying that list over here and then giving you the flexibility to add to it or remove from it. And it works very well. It does a very nice job. What if I want to make a birthday list? Is there a way to print a list of just customers' names and birthdays? Yes, absolutely. You can create a report that will allow you to do that. You can actually go into templates. You can come up here and you can create a report. So if you were to come in, let me close out of that. Forgot I had it open. So we'll go back to templates again. We'll go to reports and we'll click on new. And this one here, you can give it a name and simply call it birthday list. Down here, you can tell that you're looking for the first name. And of course, we know that that's field 100. You can come down here and you can say you're looking for the last name, and that's field 101. And then down here, you can put date of birth. What is the date of birth field ID number? Hold on. Apparently, my shift isn't working right. It doesn't want to capitalize that. Okay, so what is that field ID number? Well, let me go open up that copy I have and come over here. Voila, it's field 118. So now I can come in here and I can enter field 118. Then if I was to save this and I was to run it, I would end up with a list that would show me the borrower's first name, last name, and date of birth. But of course on here, what I would do, or my recommendation, take it or leave it, everyone, of course, is I would go ahead and I would add the co-borrower on here also. And then what I love to do is I love to come down here and instead of actually printing the report, I like to come down here and I like to tell it to display the results in Excel, okay, and the results in a new Excel spreadsheet. Now you can do pre-formatted Excel spreadsheets. I'm sure that they've gotten much better with this feature. It's been a while since I've done anything with it, but you were actually able to go in and choose a predefined Excel spreadsheet, and I believe you can design them and import them. But you're going to need to go to Calyx on that, and then you can select them from the list. So that way, if you want to have the data go into an Excel spreadsheet that already has all the wonderful formatting to it, you're able to do that. But I come down and I say the results in a new Excel spreadsheet, and I would save this. And then when I would run it, it would actually open up in an Excel spreadsheet with all of my information I had here. And it really does a very nice job, everyone, from here. But of course, again, I'm a little prejudiced. And because I don't want to have to go run reports every time and to do that and everything, my favorite thing to do is, in my Pulse application, is to create a view. That's called birthdays, and I can enter the borrower's first and last name and date of birth, and the co-borrower's first and last name and date of birth. I can add the loan officer or the processor that was on the file. I can simply create that wonderful custom view, and then I can pull it up by simply selecting that view, having it relook at my database, bring that information up, and it's available to me right here on the screen. And of course, within this application, I can also download to an Excel spreadsheet. So it works really quite nice. And you have the ability to do that within Point also. So I hope that answered your question. I think like a Word doc to normal application example, company disclosure. Not sure I understand the question. If you're asking, I was referring to a question before. Oh, what if I wanted to make a birthday list? Is there a way? Okay, so you were saying that, I'm not sure I understand. Can you add a form to a completed print group? When someone wants to add an outside document. Oh, okay. So if someone wants to add an outside document, what you're recommending is, I think I like Word docs for the outside documents. I loved it. I mean, inside the system when I was building it, what I loved about the system is on custom forms is you actually have the ability to import a Word document, and then once you import it, you can do your data placements to it, and then you can include those custom forms in your print groups, and it really works quite well. On the birthday report, can you select different folders, i.e. active to close? Yes, you can. When you go to actually run a report, let's see if I can jump to the report screen for you. When you actually go to run a report within the Point system, this is where you have the ability to select. And again, this is my demo site, everyone, so there's a lot of folders out there. But you can actually select what folders you want to include. So absolutely, you can do that. Let's make sure I didn't miss any other questions above real quick. I think I got all those. Thanks. If you create that report, birthday list, can you make it print for only one particular loan officer and not the whole company? Absolutely. Right here on the screen, when you go to run that report, you select the folder that you want to run it against, and you actually have the ability up here to select what originator's files that you want selected out of that particular folder. So absolutely, you can go in and you can create that report. You can make it specific to that loan officer from here. What you can't do is you can't do these particular features when you're building the report. The report part of the screen is basically selecting the fields and the way that you want that data presented to you, like the Excel spreadsheet. And then once you go in here to run the report, this is where you have the option to select certain data folders. You have the option to select certain statuses on loans. You can choose certain loan officers or certain processors. And then if you've built some conditional logic into that report, this is where that conditional logic would be displayed. On statuses, like for instance, if you came in here and you chose closed as one of your statuses, you could come down here and you could do close date, and you can actually put in a close date range here. Once you've completed all this information and everything, this generate button will enable and allow you to click on it, and you can generate those wonderful reports. I love these questions. Eric, and thank you for sharing the information that you did. Does anyone else have any questions that we can answer, or some other particular topic you'd like me to touch on real quick before we end today's call? I really appreciate everyone taking time out of their busy day, and this is my favorite part of my job. So I love to be able to help. Oh, I forgot. When you run these reports, everyone, and you select the data folders, don't forget down here that you have the option to choose from the prospect side or the borrower side of the data folder, or both sides. So if you're still doing Point Conventional and you're still doing like a primary data folder and you're doing your leads on the prospect side and your loans on the borrower side, you have the ability to tell it what side of that data folder to look at. Okay, everyone? Great. Well, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and end this call for today. But please join me next week for our call. And what we're going to talk about next week is we're going to talk about the borrower master template. There's some misconception on this, and I want to share what I know about it, and I'm hoping some other people can also add to it. We want to talk about the functionality for data import and export, as well as we've talked a little bit about custom forms today, but we'll kind of touch on them again next week. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the call. You're a wonderful group. I appreciate it, and I look forward to having you join me again next week. And hopefully by next week, I'll let you know what we will be training on in the month of February. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. I'll get that link for this recording out to you as quickly as possible. Thank you. Bye-bye.